Well, we're at Canyon High School today, and this is Tom and Jeff Asher. These two gentlemen have come from Los Angeles to share their oral history with us. They owned a ranch, which is now today part of a big part of the Vasquez Rocks County Park. So we're going to talk to them about that. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You switched, didn't you?
Well, we thought you might not recognize.
They threw me off by moving. See this? I can't believe this. That's great. Anyway, thanks for being here today. Thank you again. We have a picture of their house up on the screen. Tell us a little bit. When did your father buy the house, or buy the property rather?
The property was acquired in around 1934.
Okay.
It was acquired as a result of a long search on the part of our father, looking for something that he could use as a weekend retreat and a summer retreat. At the time, Tom and I were 9 and 11 years old, so that puts it in perspective.
Okay, and we know that in the 1930s there was a depression on, and your father did what for a living? How could he afford to buy a property like this?
Basically, he had a job, which was unusual.
Right.
Because most people did not have jobs. Dad was general manager of the Ocean Park Amusement Pier, which was a pier in between Venice and Santa Monica.
Sort of the Magic Mountain of its day?
It really was, but you know, it cost a nickel to go on rides and anything. It was a different era, and it was not materially affected in the Depression because it was not expensive.
Right.
So he was not a wealthy man, but he had enough so that he wanted to buy another piece of property. And of course, property was extremely inexpensive at the time. So that's the genesis of it.
Right. How did he happen to want to do a ranch? I mean, this was a lifelong dream of his, or what?
Yeah.
Well, I think so. I today feel the same way, even though it's a little late for me to start out in that path. He had the very human urge to return to the earth. And I think everyone does. People like to get their hands dirty in the earth. They like to see plants grow. They like to identify with that. And of course, it's much less so than ever before. It's similar to people who say, gee, I've always wanted to own my own home. I don't want to rent. I don't want to lease. I just want to have something I can call part of me that's part of the earth right now.
Mm-hmm.
A very basic human desire.
Right, right. What was it like out here back then? There was no city of Santa Clarita. There was no Canyon High School. What was it like out here?
Desolate.
It was a high desert, and that's it. There wasn't anything. And there were little outcroppings of people. No.
Nothing here?
Well, it was Newhall and Saugus.
Okay.
But between, and they were pretty small towns.
Right.
And the area in which my father settled for this summer home was very sparse. There were probably 6 or 8 families in total in the general area.
In all of Agua Dulce.
Right.
It was a wilderness, truly was a wilderness, and actually not much different than parts of Saugus, which was one giant carrot patch at that time, and surprisingly enough, a rodeo. The Saugus Rodeo was here.
It was Hoot Gibson's ranch.
Yeah.
Which is today's Saugus Speedway.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the water company out here, the Manelli Water Company, had drilled a couple of wells to water the carrots, and the water is what did it. It started everything growing. But Agua Dulce was the next wilderness and was really the next water hole.
Now, this is a picture. I put this picture up here. This is Vasquez Rocks County Park. This was your backyard. This is where you guys played there. I'm just curious, is that one of you at the top up there?
I doubt it. That's probably somebody in the park that's adjacent to our property.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like those are the rocks that are east of us.
Well,
All right.
but you're right when you say play up there. It's impossible to be a young person and not go out into the rocks. By the way, have any of you been to Vasquez Rocks County Park?
Has anybody here been to Vasquez Rocks County Park? Quite a few.
Well, and you know how impossible it is not to want to get out in it and run in it and hide in it. And
who are
all the
these
other good
3
things.
desperados on horseback here?
Well, it's my father and my brother. They wouldn't let me in the picture here.
Oh, you're there.
I don't think that's me. No, that's not my horse.
No, that's
sure?
right. That's right. Well, he was the little brother,
Certainly,
of course.
certainly a man would know his own horse.
So you're I'm told.
So the guy in the middle is our father, and the guy, as you look at the left, is I.
That's you over there.
And then there's some unknown character
Okay.
that is joining us.
So you guys had horses. You had a lot of barnyard animals, I'm presuming. What else did you do with this ranch?
Oh,
that you had?
it was a working ranch, although we didn't have that many cattle. I don't think we ever had more than maybe 56. So a lot of alfalfa, which was an important crop. We had 2,500 chickens that were used for egg production. We keep about 400 turkeys for sale once a year. In those days, the only time people ever ate turkey was Thanksgiving. So
In those days.
you'd grow your turkeys to go to market prior to Thanksgiving once a year. No, it was as working a ranch as you could find. We were not even constrained by water. We were very fortunate from a standpoint of location.
I know this next photo shows the natural water that you have on the property.
Yeah, and we had actually right about there on the right-hand side was the original spring in the area, which not only supported us, but it supported about 8,000 years of existence of what I thought were the Indians called the Alikliks. They've given them a new name now. Which I'm unfamiliar.
The Tataviums?
Yeah, something like
that.
that.
The Tataviums, okay.
Yeah.
I want to, before I forget, I want to find that one photo of all the kids sitting on the steps. If you could find me that one, I'll share that with the students here.
I think I had it in here. Yeah, we had playmates there. They
No,
were
but you have
there's
there's a large photo, Tom.
yeah, but it was in the book.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Were there many families in the area that?
5 or 6 families, all very poor because it was the Depression. Here we are.
This is one. I'm going to see if I can put this.
This was, I had a birthday party, a 10th birthday party, and here are the local kids that we invited.
There you go. Oh, you got it.
Wow, there you are.
And we had actually...
Are you in that photo now?
Yeah, we had... I'm the fat kid in the photo.
There he is, right there. Everybody is thin, except this guy right here.
These were all the local kids, and they were thin, let me tell you. There wasn't that much to eat in those days.
We got most of it from the dining room
We took
table.
2 or 3 pictures here. This is just half the party. These are the boys that were invited.
Let's see if we can get this.
We've
top
got one of the girls that were invited. Here they are.
All right, so
Look at that marvelous.
we know there was
ball.
slim pickings in their neighborhood, right?
Yeah. Wait a second. The girls are all wearing shoes. That was not the case of the boys.
No, the boys wore barefoot.
No, a number of the boys were barefoot.
That's right. So so you guys moved here in the 1930s, and there was nothing out in this area, and but you had another home in Los Angeles, which you would travel back and forth to. Where did you buy your supplies? I mean, there's nothing around there? Did you buy it from Los Angeles and take everything
on the
out
way
there?
up? There are a lot of farm supply and ranch supply places. So up San Fernando Road, somewhere is either in Newhall or Saugus or just before that.
You had to plan ahead then what you were going
I
to.
can remember our driving up with our dad and his stopping.
Yeah, but the number one was the Solemint Junction.
Well, we didn't buy supplies there, but the
No.
Solemint Junction was an interesting store. We were talking about that in the break here.
You all know where Solemint Junction is. It's the corner of Sierra Highway and Soledad Canyon Road where the Arby's is, okay? The Arby's is Solemint Junction.
It was an incredible store. I mean, we remember it very fondly. It was sort of the variety store of the day that you don't see now.
General merchandise.
It was general merchandise, and it had notices that were posted with
Here's another one.
jokes and pictures and want ads and all kinds of things that you could get. We used to stop for a popsicle.
Every gadget in the world that you could buy in a Sears Roebuck catalog, it was a store for country folk. So they had everything that you needed to live and laugh.
I put this picture up here. This is the front porch.
Yeah,
Correct.
So you had porches at least on one side or 2 sides of the house? Is that it?
2 sides.
2 sides of the house? Okay.
2.5.
And what is this? Are we looking here? Check that one out, Lance. Is the back, the kitchen entrance?
Yeah, that was, we parked the
back
car
of the
there, and that's going into the kitchen door.
Okay.
You might notice those big stakes there on the tree. Those trees were Chinaberry trees. And whenever it gets strong winds, because they were so shallow rooted, they blow over.
Oh.
But we would just stake them up again,
Just
and
stick
by
'em back
God,
up
they'd root. Yeah. Very common. It was a very common tree around here then, and probably still is.
Yeah, what are we looking at here? What is this?
Hard to say.
Oh, here,
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. So take a look at that.
Oh, that's almost taken from the previous picture, but a little further away, so you could see one wing of the house.
Okay.
But the blue and the yellow flashes there on the
Right.
gloss cover up what
The windows. Huh?
Yeah, it's
Let's go inside and take a look at this house. You don't see very many furnishings or houses like this anymore. It was a certain style, Western style furniture. I remember it as a kid from Phoenix, Arizona at times. But tell us a little bit about this. Is this your living room?
yeah, that is it.
That's it?
The part of it, the northern corner of it.
What's that square thing in the corner, that big square thing?
It's an ancient rosewood piano.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you play the piano?
We both worked at it a bit, but piano was terribly out of tune, as you all must know. You can't keep pianos tuned
Well, the weather
in dry
is,
desert.
The weather is incredible, so that it sounded like an old piano.
Well, you've got a lot of the furnishings of the West, and I notice you have a few animal heads on the wall there. Were you hunters, or did you hunt at all?
Well, we hunted other hunters when they came on the property
I
trespass.
see.
I know, in all honesty, I don't know of a lower form of life than a hunter who trespasses on private property and shoots at anything that moves, and frequently many things that don't move. We had problems with people doing that, and at one point, many years later, when I was trying to operate the ranch by myself, oh no, it wasn't. I was in high school at the time. I remember this. I was standing beside one of our calves, about a 600-pound calf, when at the corner of Agua Dulce and Escondido Canyon Road, a car stopped. A kid stood up in the back seat of an open coupe with a rifle and shot the calf, who's standing as close to me as you are.
Shot the cow.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
a
yeah.
bullet.
The steer. Put it right in his belly. The animal went oof before I heard the report, because the rifle was, sound travels slower than bullets. And then I saw the animal drop and looked up and saw these people. By the way, we chased them. My father and I chased them and caught them and turned them over to the sheriff's in Newhall.
We actually escorted the car into Newhall.
Yeah,
I'm curious. Did they have some reason for doing what they did, or?
yeah. They had a gun and they wanted to shoot something.
I see.
Well, it's like you shoot.
You were
a
lucky
squirrel.
you weren't standing a couple of feet over there.
Lucky
Either
it was a
that-
good shot.
Well, or maybe it wasn't a good shot.
Yeah. You'll never know.
No.
Let's put this one up here. This is an interesting one. See if you can guess what's over the door of this room here.
Sure. Thanks.
What is
Hey,
it?
got it.
It is.
It's actually a South American boa constrictor. It's we did have a rattlesnake on one of the other walls, but we didn't have much problem with rattlesnakes.
I'm glad to hear that, because I live in Rattlesnake.
But we had an awful lot of other snakes, and that could be part of the reason. We had red racers, which will
Right.
kill rattlesnakes.
Right.
We had king snakes, which will kill
Right.
rattlesnakes.
That helps. Now this here is a view from. Are we looking across your backyard, or here's a picture right
A
here?
side yard from the
yard?
front porch looking south towards the crest of actually just behind that are the north slope of the San Gabriel Mountains. It's a little too close to this crest to see them. And Mount Gleason would be back there, which is, is the highest local peak, which always has snow on it in winter.
But actually, that jutting edge of rock is the typical thing you see in movies.
That's what I was
and actually, it is. It's in many, many Western films that they have shot.
Did
and
anybody
it's
ever?
characteristic of-
Did anybody ever film movies on your property, or was that?
I think once or twice Dad let
Couple
them,
of times
but
we-
we usually would not let them come in because they're very destructive.
Now here's the reason why these two guys were so popular in high school. They had a swimming pool. See? They had the only swimming pool.
Yeah, you can see it there at the end.
You can see the
wall.
swimming pool in the picture here.
Yeah.
So again, the water came from the local underground.
well.
You had a well.
Yeah.
You had a well, which fed it. And what else is this what is this over here? That's
The little sundial. We decorated the place with various things. This sundial was marvelous. It had a great philosophy on it, which I think applies today. It said, "Count none but sunny hours."
it's very good.
Okay.
Here's a good one for you. Take a look at this. So this is what the view was from their swimming pool, looking out over Vasquez Rocks County Park.
That's looking due west.
You have a photo, and I wish you could find it for me. The one with the plaque. Could you find that for us so we can share it? In the meantime, I'm going to put this one
Yeah,
on.
it's in there.
We know it's in there. I want to show the plaque.
Close to the beginning.
You got this one?
I don't remember, Tom.
Okay.
It's on the left-hand side.
Okay.
Now, what is this we're looking at here? This the front yard, the backyard?
This is, well, it's sort of the front yard.
Okay.
We're looking from the west to the east at the house from where the swimming pool was.
Okay.
And
So this
see
is the
the
opposite
steps
view that we just saw.
Steps into the main house.
Right. This is basically the photographer just turned around and took this picture.
Right,
and took
exactly.
that picture.
It's just one way or the other.
By the way, these photos are now a part of the Vasquez Rocks County Park. They donated all these photos, not quite all of them, but most of these big photos we're looking at. What other things did you give to the park when they took over the property?
Well, Tom has given them a number of things. He can speak to that.
Yeah, well, the artifacts that we dug up as kids, which we shouldn't have done.
And I don't know.
But once we did, we went down to the county museum with them. We had a couple of burials and
Tell them what
a
kind of
lot
artifacts you found.
Well, broken mortars and pestles were the commonest. Clay arrow straighteners, which are a special sort of thing that they use to help make their arrows.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of spearheads, one skull.
No body, just a skull.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
okay.
Pretty
numerous miscellaneous
decomposed.
bones. Like almost all people in the world, even up until today, they buried their dead in the fetal position, curled up. Yeah, here's
a plaque that their father had or made for his two sons.
Well,
Do you remember what it said on there?
It's essentially it's a philosophical expression on the part of our father, hoping that his sons would live and prosper and do good, be nice to each other, and have a lovely life.
it was very flowery and in the
dedicated
style of
to
the
the
previous
area.
century. No, it was.
That we would enjoy the ranch. Is basically
So he was basically
together.
saying, "This is my land. I started this for you, and I want to give this to you."
Right, and I want you to enjoy and make the most of it.
He wanted us to develop a character from the openness and the freedom of the nature and so forth that
Right.
would make us fine gentlemen in our later life.
Let's talk a little bit about the 1930s. You bought the property. Your father built this ranch and started this business. And in the meantime, he was also working another job, correct?
Yeah.
So it just wasn't a full-time rancher. And then World War II happened. What happened? Tell us about World War II, or what happened to the ranch during World War II?
Well, it blossomed because we had all the chickens to lay the eggs, and we were producing alfalfa, and we were grazing cattle, and these are all commodities that were very desperately needed.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeff went into the Navy right away. Being older, he got lucky. He got to go right away, and I had to wait a couple of years till I turned 17.
Did you go in the Navy too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, he got lucky. He got to go overseas, and I had to spend my whole naval career training. They trained me to a perfect T, and then the war ended.
Well, you're perfect.
Yeah, the gun that never got fired.
But the ranch actually, the period of our enjoyment of it together was between 1935 and 1941. So
Okay.
what we're reflecting on is really just a small 6-year period.
But the ranch was in the family for quite a few years.
Oh yeah,
after that.
until our dad died, and then we sold it. And he died in 65. Our mother died in 66, and we sold the property, the main property. We still own some land,
Right.
in 1970.
Okay. Okay. And tell us a little bit how did the park get started? Give me a little history on the park, and how did your land happen to end up as the park?
Well, right next to us were other part of the contiguous to us in the rock formations was other property that was privately owned by an interesting character who turned it into a commercial park, like a camping place, and he charged people 25 cents to come in and spend the day and camp and things like that. And it had been finally the county back in about 1965, I think it was, or 6,
In the 60s.
decided that it was a beautiful geologic specimen of a thrust fault, and it should be a county park. Well, old man Tony was old man Tony then. I think he had just died, as a matter of fact, and a nephew someplace that had inherited the property, and the county approached him and bought the property to turn it into a county park, and then they made overtures to us. And we had a difficult decision because we had a different idea of how the property should be developed. But we finally realized that it properly should be a county park. If you've been out there, you see how beautiful it is, how unique it is. And we still had protected the Indian petroglyphs and the Indian burial sites, many which had been undisturbed, although the county museum had come out, the professionals had come out and mapped out the place and made test digs at various things and been rewarded with some very good items. It made sense. It had to be a park. So we ended up negotiating with them and selling it to the county, and they doubled the size of the park then and got the part that still had been well preserved and had been more or less untouched by humans. So we were all happy. We felt everybody ended up happy with that one.
Now, I'm curious, what else did you give to the park when they took over the property, you sold it to them? Did you give them, other than these 2 books of photos, or any other artifacts or things that you might have had or collected over the years?
Essentially everything.
You actually, the LA County Museum took the skeletons, the skull, and some of the artifacts. I don't know what all. I think you gave them all of the documents that we had.
Yeah, I gave. Yeah, and I had collected quite a few of those. But no, all of the broken mortars and pestles they took, although they didn't take them down to the museum. But I kept one great big one.
One great big mortar and pestle?
Yeah, one mortar that actually weighs 50 kilos, 110 pounds.
Wow.
And I saved it just because I had my doubts what the county would do with it, and I was right.
Well, also, it's a nice keepsake, and I've got.
No, I'm going to give it back to them. I told them they can have it. I told them they can have it when they can protect it and when they can protect the petroglyphs.
Oh,
and which will probably be never.
Yeah. The problem with a governmental agency such as that is that the people on the scene are usually very adept and very caring, but the amount of support, amount of money is usually not sufficient.
Not very much.
Certainly not for this park, which is like 300 acres.
That's very big.
So that, as you say, Phil, the only part that you see when you go into Vasquez Rocks Park is the eastern portion that has been used primarily for movie sets and such. Right. And all of the rocks that are in the background to the west were a part of the property that we sold to them and is not available to the public. And you've got one ranger and 2 helpers.
Right.
And that's the reason that the house went the way it was. It's a shame that the house should have been the standard property for the rangers.
It should have.
It would have been a great place to
museum.
walk through.
It would have been a super
they made
museum.
a very big mistake.
Yes.
But there you go. You can't.
Too late now.
Yeah. And so, whether it'll ever become a big park, we doubt. It's not a Bryce or a Zion or a Yosemite or a Sequoia, but it's a very interesting part of our history and our culture. And certainly, if you live in this area, it is definitely a part of the culture of this area.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to wrap this up. I'm curious if anybody has any questions for these gentlemen you'd need to ask or would like to ask any questions about anything they've spoken about today. All right.
We have a historian in the audience who can give you much more accurate things.
Joellen?
Well, I was going to ask you, what could you tell us about your mother? Were your mother married?
Our mother was named Emily.
But didn't you tell me once that she was an actress?
Oh yeah, she had been an actress in the legitimate theater in the late 1918 era into the early 20s. Don't know how significant that is with respect to the ranch, but her name was Emily Pinter. She was from New York, and she was with a traveling company that came out, did the Alcazar and various things.
It's the Belasco service from Seattle to San Diego.
And your father, is that when
she met our
and
father in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Which was his home.
Did your mom run into any friends out there when you were living at the Rocks that she had known from her theater days?
Well, Tom has a story on that.
Well, she kept semi-active in the theater. She she coached for a while, sporadically, different people in the movie industry. And but one day I remember they were filming a Western film over in the main part of the Rocks, and Tom Mix was in it. And we came home, we rode home again after watching it for a while and told my mother. And she says, "Oh," she says, "Tom and I acted together at such and such a theater and, the legitimate stage and so forth." So we rode back over there, and my brother, being the forward member of the family, went up to Tom Mix and said, he said, "My mother asked me to ask you to come over and visit her." And so he told her, et cetera, et cetera. And so when they finished the shoot for the day, he came over to the house to see her, and they reminisced on many an old legitimate theater stories.
Very good. Well, listen, we're going to wrap this up. I want to thank you for being a very good audience, and thank you, gentlemen.